Let's roll, baby. Welcome into our live stream after game two. A stunner at Madison Square Garden. As you can tell, Big Waz is fired up. John Jastremski is fired up. I cannot say the same about my compadre, Raheem Palmer, as the Knicks from the jaws of defeat, Raheem. I don't even know where to begin on what happened over the final 25 seconds of this game. I'm going to start with you because you're Mr. Negative at this point. How you holding up, buddy?
I am not holding up well.
Wow.
We brought Kyle Lowry over for veteran leadership, and he misses a free throw, and he throws the ball out of bounds. Not out of bounds. He throws it to Maxey when it's just a bad pass. And for us to never be able to get a defensive rebound, I'm just very angry. I don't even know what to say right now.
You know, Waz, I have to admit, dude, I'm in all my Knicks chats, and over the last minute and a half, as Maxey is torching him, and Embiid on one leg is torching him, I think I'm texting every single group thread I'm in, 7 for 28, Jalen Brunson's stat line in this game. But the shot he makes, which was probably one of the ugliest shots he had in this entire game, it kind of set up that wild sequence with Lowry losing the ball, Hartenstein getting the rebounds, DiVincenzo banging the three.
Unbelievable.
The Knicks have gotten two deplorable games from Jalen Brunson, and yet here we are. They're up 2-0 on the Sixers.
Yeah, just what a freaking finish. As that fourth quarter is coming down, I'm thinking about what the storyline coming out of this game is for me. And I'm like, man, the Sixers, they have two guys, all-star level guys, an MVP level guy. The two-man game was working with a capital W. Man, they had it going. Maxey and Embiid, essentially the Knicks could not stop it. And they spammed it over and over again, and they made the right reads, the right pass, drew the right fouls. The entire fourth quarter, this is coming down, and I'm watching Brunson just brick open shot after open shot. He can't shake loose. I got to hand it to Toby Harris, Nicolas Batum, everybody who chipped in. Oubre even chipped in on the defense that they played against Brunson all night. And I'm like, damn, Brunson he couldn't play up to his level. He's all first team All NBA kind of level, MVP, fifth place kind of level. He didn't live up to it. And I'm thinking this is going to be the story of today's game, guys. And then chaos ensues at the very end. It's just insane, dude.
But doesn't it speak to the Raheem?
Because the shot he hit was it was Kawhi Leonard-esque.
I could see that. I mean, listen, from a Philly perspective, that's how you lost the playoff series against Toronto. And yeah, I could see all the flashbacks and all the horrors if you're a Sixer fan flashing through your eyes in that 15 seconds or so. But Raheem, doesn't that in a way kind of sum up the differences between these two particular teams? Because listen, the two best players on the floor tonight were without question Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, and yet Philadelphia doesn't win this game. Doesn't it kind of speak to the intangible that is just missing from this Sixer group? And I don't want to hear that Embiid's hurt, because listen, if you're hurt, then don't play, right? Bottom line, I don't want to hear it. Listen, we all know he's hurt. We all know he's hobbling, but he's out there playing in the games. So if you're out there playing in the games, yeah, you can't jump, you got no hops, you can't move around. We're gonna acknowledge that. But that it factor, Raheem, it's missing from the Sixers, is it not?
Oh, without a doubt. And I think I said it in the first half. When this team was down, the Knicks were down 4 at halftime, and Maxey and Embiid were going off. Brunson wasn't doing much of anything. It was just Josh Hart. You could just see that this team, the Knicks, just had more grit. They had more poise. The big reason why they're up 2-0 in this series is because of offensive rebounding. They've generated second chance shots for you guys, and fast break shots. It's just, y'all do the little things, and the Sixers don't do the little things. And I think that's the difference in this series. So, and I saw that happening when, we should have been blowing y'all out in the first half, and it just wasn't the case.
Yeah, that second quarter, I thought they had, especially towards the middle part to the end, it felt like the Knicks just couldn't figure out how to get stops, man. the game sort of grinds to a halt. It's not a high possession game, as you can see by the score. And so, man, I felt like the Sixers were consistently generating good looks, and the Knicks offense just felt like they were putting it together piecemeal, right? Josh Hart, 3 of 4 first half threes. This guy has shot 30% on threes this season. For many parts of the season, he was under 30%. Just they're getting these Deuce McBride, these big contributions from him who, beginning of the season, if you would have told Knick fans like, yo, Deuce McBride is going to be the key to going up 2-0, one of the keys anyway, going up 2-0. Hartenstein, man, they're just putting this thing together piecemeal. It's just crazy to watch, bro.
And you got to give fellas Tibbs all the credit in the world because let's be honest on this. Game 1, he's got the Midas touch as far as having Mitchell Robinson match up with Embiid, does a marvelous job on him defensively. He sticks with Deuce McBride, who's hitting all those threes in Game 1. Then in Game 2, he goes back to Hartenstein. Hartenstein had a terrible first half. I'm cursing him. I'm like, what's going on here? He can't stick with Embiid. He's not finishing at the rim. But then he goes and gives you 10 third quarter points. And then in the fourth quarter, he's getting you second and third and fourth opportunities. And not only that, how about Tibbs was going back to DiVincenzo, final 2.5 minutes of the game, who hits the go-ahead three, ends up being the difference in the game. Tom Thibodeau having a good feel, good pulse of his team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's enough jokes to be made about Josh Hart's minutes where this guy hasn't come out for like 60 something minutes or something insane like that. Like, obviously, like Tibbs has his own way of doing things, but look, man, he is giving guys the opportunity to do what is asked of them. He's not doing the quick hook thing. And to his credit, these guys have Philly stuff mostly well scouted, right? It's just crazy that they're getting the right contributions from the right guys. And I guess it is a Midas touch of pulling the strings where it needs to be. It's just wild when you talk about the combined shooting that Brunson has had, which is like 15 of 57 or something at this point in the first 2 games of this series, and that they would come out of this 2-0, man. The defense has just been spectacular.
You know, Raheem, I don't want to hear about the minutes police. You know what, Waz? I'm in New York City. You know this. Whatever Tibbs is doing, and you got to understand something here, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I've seen a lot of crummy, subpar, pathetic basketball over the last 18 years of my life. I will gladly, Raheem, take a coach who maybe is playing players more than he should if I'm going to get this brand of basketball that I'm getting from the team. Because Raheem, they've taken on the personality of Tom Thibodeau. Have they not? Like the sort of guy that they've brought to this team, it's the junkyard dog. It's the guy who wants to be on the floor. Like, Raheem, I know we see all these surveys. Hey, players rank Tibbs, coach they least want to play for. Maybe, you know what? Those guys, Raheem, I don't want them on my team. That's kind of the way I look at it, bro. I don't want them on my team. The team I got is pretty good.
You know, I respect that in some ways, but this is not going to pay dividends as these series go on, the playoffs go on. It's like, yes, you guys are up 2-0, but at the end of the day, you guys are trying to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. You guys are trying to get to the NBA Finals. At some point in time, these guys are going to wear down. So it's great.
But what choice do they have? What choice do they have? Who exactly are they supposed to be playing, though, Raheem?
I mean, that is fair. That is fair. But
I mean, it's not like they have. Can I
interest you in some Alec Burks minutes?
No, I don't need no Alex Burks in my life.
Can I interest you in some Precious Achua or Jericho Sims minutes? Yeah, they're look. I think you might say that they could find a little bit of extra time for Bogdanovich. I thought those 2 threes back-to-back that he hit were absolutely crucial. Gave the Knicks a little cushion. And again, like, this reminds me of the classic NBA series that I grew up on, where a 7-point lead is actually critical, right? Like it will last you like 5 possessions because this is just like the Sixers can't get healthy offense from anybody that isn't Embiid or Maxey, and they're obviously not getting out in transition. I thought they did a better job of getting on the offensive boards, or rather keeping the Knicks off of the offensive glass until the very end, obviously. But like, man, I think Bogdanovich could probably stand to see some extra time just because he's a pressure valve release. He spaces out. He can post up a smaller guy when he gets him on a switch. I think Bogdanovich is the only guy that legitimately you're like, man, maybe you could sneak a couple more minutes for him. But hey, man, Josh Hart at 48, Anunoby 37, DiVincenzo another 37, obviously Brunson at 38 with the ridiculous workload. I really feel like Tibbs is doing it as well as he can, man.
Hey, I'm all about
Josh
it.
Hart, 48 minutes is crazy.
Yeah, 48 minutes. I mean, in game 2 of the postseason is wow. And
You know what?
already
I got a bigger problem with minutes, fellas, when we're talking about regular season games and you're up by 20 or 25 points. To me, postseason time, Josh Hart is a well-conditioned athlete. He's off on Tuesday. He's off on Wednesday. Feed him his Wheaties. Hydrate up. Do what you got to do. And we'll see you Thursday in Philly. Waz, you'll appreciate this one. This one comes from the Podfather. I just got this in a little chat.
Yes, sir.
Greatest Knick win since Jeremy Lin. JJ, fact or fiction? Waz, I'm thinking about this, dude. The game I was probably going to give Simmons was, because the Cleveland series was very ho-hum. Game 3, I was there, was rocking, but the Knicks kicked their ass. The Miami series, they didn't really have a great, signature win. Game 5 was fun, but they were down 3-1 in the series. They had a good one. I remember it was an Easter Sunday. Melo, I think, torching the Bulls and Derrick Rose that got him into the playoffs. That was a fun win. But dude, this is probably the best Knick win I've experienced in over a decade plus. To be fair, Waz, I'd say even more than that. So
yeah, I mean, as far as juice is concerned, because I think even, kicking Cleveland's asses up and down the court last year, it felt anticlimactic because they were so freaking dominant. Donovan Mitchell looked horrible. It was like, all right, yeah, this is what we're supposed to do. This is against Joel Embiid, who everybody's understanding is like one of the 5 best guys in the NBA. The Philadelphia 76ers, obviously our I-95 rivals as far as cities are concerned, in New York. Man, it's tough, man. This has a lot of juice. And also the Knicks are shorthanded. Nobody thought the Knicks were gonna do some incredible damage in this postseason. One, obviously Julius Randle is out, but also OG Anunoby missed an extended amount of time. He's slightly limited in himself. And the Sixers, when they had Joel Embiid early on the season before he got hurt, were playing at a 28-8 pace. Like, this team was way better than the Knicks, right? And so this feels like found money. And that finish where Maxey, 2 back-to-back buckets, the 1 bucket to put them up, to put the Sixers up 1, 97 and 96. And then that deep 3-pointer off of the Joel 2-man game, and they go up 4, and it's about a minute and a half, and everybody's
I thought, good night, the lights.
I called game at that
the
point.
First one to tell you. I thought
everybody
game 7 match
thought it was over. They had some close-ups of my man Stephen A on the sidelines, on the sitting courtside. He looked apoplectic. Stephen A knew this thing was over. Like, everybody knew it was over. And, look, this is not LJ 4-point play. We don't have to get crazy, because that will forever be the craziest shot in the history of this franchise, as far as I'm concerned. But man, this is big. This is crazy.
You know what? I'm thinking about it. It's the best Knick win since Game 7. Miami was on the road.
Wow.
Clarence Weatherspoon missing a shot late
Oh my
With Pat
goodness.
Riley staring and sweating and disgusted as Van Gundy drinking the Diet Cokes beat him again. Now that I've thought about it, it is the best win since then. Raheem, this one's for you. This one comes from Cameron. If I were a Sixer fan, should I actually tear my eyeballs out right now? I don't know, Raheem. I like your eyeballs. Are we thinking about that? Where's the stage of pain?
Oh, shoot.
Felt like I just watched Devin Haney lose to Ryan Garcia after Ryan Garcia spent the whole training camp, drinking and smoking, and just like, that's how it feels right now. Like, this is not supposed to happen. You're up 4 points with a minute to go, and then you're at the free throw line with the chance to make it 6 with 47 seconds to go, and you end up losing in regulation. Like, this is just absolutely like this is the worst loss since Kawhi Leonard hit the buzzer beater. Like, I just don't even know what to say. I'm stunned.
Fellas, do you think we see any fight, any pride from the Philadelphia 76ers? I'll start with you on this one, Raheem. They probably are sitting there saying to themselves, how in the world are we down 2-0 in this series? They got to sit on this now for 2 days. They will play Thursday night, and then they will play again on Sunday. Raheem, do we see fight from your boys, number one? Number two, does this series let's put it this way. Do we get a game 6 in this series, yeah or nay?
Yes, this series is going back to New York tied 2-2.
Confident.
I'm very confident.
If everything you saw, we're going back 2-2.
The biggest thing is that we know that the Sixers are able to defend Jalen Brunson. He's 16 of 55 in this series, 1 for 12 for 3. And during the regular season, they've had his number as well. He just averaged 22 points on 40% shooting and 30% from 3 against the Sixers in the regular season. So this is not just a 1-2 game blip. Now, I know Jalen Brunson, he did miss some easy bunnies, but the one thing that we all know about postseason series in the NBA, the role players shoot better at home. Nick Batum is going to play better. At some point, I hope Buddy Hield shows up. I don't know where he's been.
Where has Buddy Hield been in this series? Because he scared me going into this. He's been MIA.
Buddy Hield, I guess people are now realizing something about his game. He's a good movement shooter, obviously spot-up shooter. Whenever that man puts the ball on the ground, horrific things happen for his team. Obviously, he's not a good layup maker. He's not a finisher at the cup. He's very one-dimensional, and he's never been anybody's idea of a playoff defender on the perimeter. And when you have somebody like Jalen Brunson, all-star type of player who at any moment Buddy Hield can get switched on and just get treated like fish fillet. Even Deuce McBride's eyes might get wide open by seeing Buddy Hield on him. He's just too one-dimensional right now for this series. I think on a team like Indiana that lacked so much for shooting, it made more sense because he wasn't asked to do anything but what his strengths are. On his Philadelphia team, where there's not a crazy amount of playmaking, like he does kind of have to create for himself sometimes, and it's just not one of his strengths. When you saw him out there tonight, every time he put the ball on the floor, he wasn't even looking at the basket, folks. Buddy Hield is just not long for this series.
I'm hoping we see some campaign minutes. It's been that bad.
Oh Lord. Oh man.
Wow.
It's been that bad.
Your bench has been, listen, Raheem, I get your argument about bench players, especially guys 3 through 8, always playing better when they're on their home floor. But you have gotten absolutely nothing out of anybody on the Sixer bench. I mean, it has literally been a 2-man team at Madison Square Garden in both games. It's been hobbled Joel Embiid, huffing and puffing down the court. And it's been Tyrese Maxey, who, in my opinion, has been the best player in the series in the first 2 games. Other than that, Raheem, you've got nothing out of any of your role players. It's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. And we did a better job at rebounding. So I'm encouraged by that. I mean, outside of the end of the game, we did a much better job at just limiting offensive rebounds. But yeah, I would like to see the MB and Paul Reed minutes. I want to see those. I want to see how that looks, especially in an in-game situation where a rebound ends the game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how you could think the Knicks are gonna just walk away with this as if it's like their birthright. The Sixers did a pretty good job of shutting off their water on offense pretty much all freaking night, all game. They're gonna get a nice favorable home whistle. I think you have to expect that the Sixers should be favored going into game 3. Absolutely. They're the ones with their backs against the wall. They're the ones playing with their season on the line. Game 3 should be a very Sixers centric game. And I think game 4 is where they prove their actual mettle. Man, game 4 is where we see what the Sixers are made of. Game 3, it's like it feels damn near impossible that they could lose that, with a nice bit of rest, being at home, all the advantages that they showed in this game. I like you can't possibly think this series is over.
Yeah, FanDuel Sportsbook opened up the Philadelphia 76ers as 3.5-point favorites. It's been bet up to 4. So yeah. I think this is probably going to close around 5 or 6. To be honest.
5.5. Listen, I think if you're the Knicks, though, the way you look at it is, can you find a way to get one in the next 2? I think a Knicks fan would be dancing right now if they can split these next 2 games and get it back on Tuesday up 3-1. And to Raheem's point, if we have a 2-2 series, then all of a sudden the momentum will be on the side of Philadelphia and they'll be feeling good about themselves. But I don't trust the intestinal fortitude of Philly. We've seen them in these spots consistently, and we've seen them consistently fail.
Here's the thing. 2 things, folks. The Sixers now have to win 4 out of the next 5 games in order to win this series. You guys can look this up. Teams that go up 2-0 in a series win something like 90% of the series. The Knicks they have more remaining home games, all of these things. Again, the Sixers, their season is on the line in these 2 games. If they do not win 2 games, the series is done. Another disappointing season, another off season of what the hell can Joel and these guys and the snake-bitten crew do? Daryl Morey, figure it out. But yeah, man, I mean, if I'm a Sixers fan, I have hope that they can win these next 2 games. But golly, man, just watching that DiVincenzo possession again, Hartenstein getting the freaking offensive, barely getting it out, the swing happening, it's just, that's got to be freaking heartbreaking, man.
Oh, beautiful. You know what? Heartbreaking or beautiful, depending on how you look at it.
I'm going to tell you what makes it more heartbreaking is because Nick Nurse came out in the post-game presser and he said he called a timeout and the referee looked at him and ignored him.
Man, Nick Nurse.
Well, you know what, though, Raheem? Maybe it makes up for the fact that they had that ridiculous overturn on Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry.
I mean, when he got whacked 4 different times, he's whacking him 4 different times. Give me a shoulder. You know what? All lie, Raheem. Maybe the rest said we owe him one.
I was like, why is he doing this stupid challenge? Because I just thought he wasn't going to win. And like when it got overturned, I was stunned.
Well, and that's why when they reviewed the other play with Anunoby, I'm like, well, I think it's a foul.
They're blowing it up. They're showing Nick Nurse on the sidelines doing this. But yeah, man, heat of the moment, Nick Nurse. Sorry.
Hey, listen,
this is the ball don't lie,
baby. Ball don't lie.
My biggest thing is this: if Nick Nurse is calling a timeout, why doesn't Lowry know? And why isn't Lowry calling a timeout? And he has the ball in his hands at that point in time. So
especially a veteran player who's been through the ropes and has played 10 zillion playoff games throughout his career. Totally fair point, Raheem. Were you surprised the Knicks didn't foul up 3? Thinking back on it, man, I hate letting him shoot in that spot.
Tibbs is not a foul up 3 guy. He hasn't been traditionally. I know, I remember back when he was in Chicago when this foul up 3 principle became sort of in vogue. Like he was famously not a foul up 3 dude. And yeah, they sent all of their guys back. Yeah, I obviously the analytics. Don't throw any darts at me, folks. That it says that you should foul these dudes in the backcourt. You have some phenomenal free throw shooters on your side. They're gonna run out of timeouts. I obviously that was the right play, but it worked out for them in the end.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the old school guys tend not to foul up 3. They say, look, we're just gonna play defense and play it out. I wanted Maxey to take that shot. You gotta have.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did.
You can't pass that to Joel Embiid with 1 second to go. And I don't even think Joe Elton got it off in time. Like, you got to have the dog to say, look, I'm taking the shot.
All right, boys, let's get to a couple of these other series. Obviously,
Oh,
Knicks and
man.
Sixers right now is the juiciest of the bunch. I feel like we could spend 10 hours talking about this series.
Yeah.
You wanted to see what Orlando would do in game 2 against Cleveland. You didn't get a positive result. Yeah, they made a little bit of a run in the fourth quarter of this
Yeah.
game. They just don't have the firepower offensively. They don't have enough around Paolo. And we're talking about Cleveland up 2-0 in this series. I don't get the sense you're particularly surprised.
Look, I know a lot of people want to kill Paolo right now. I'm not one of them. I think he's doing as best as he can. The guy is not a point guard. He's being forced to be the alpha and omega of this entire team and put it on his back, and he's struggling with it. He's had 15 turnovers in 2 games. That might be an indication that he's not up to the challenge. And also the Cavs are a formidable defense. They've packed the paint on these dudes, dared them to shoot. And Gary Harris, God bless him, 4-7 from 3 tonight. But Jonathan Isaac, 1 of 7. Paolo, 1 of 4. Jalen Suggs, 0 for 3. Wendell Carter Jr., 1 of 6. Mo Wagner, 0 of 6. Gary Harris and Franz Wagner, the only guys that get a shot tonight. 2 for 4 and 4 of 7 respectively. Yeah, the Magic just don't have the firepower against a team that has the size, has the girth to, make sure that they can do no damage in the paint. Franz Wagner, another tough night for him, 5 of 17. And yeah, it's just, we knew these guys lacked shooting coming into this series. I think a lot of people thought with their athleticism and their length and their youth and their energy, they could out physical these guys and make it a series against Cleveland. But Cleveland has Donovan Mitchell, who is just way more dynamic with the ball in his hand and can eke out just enough of the stuff in between to put creases in the defense, kick out the shooters. I think getting Niang and getting Strus in the offseason, man, I think those guys, even when they're not hitting, teams understand they have to guard them out to 3. And that just opens up stuff for Mitchell and the rest of these guys. And so, yeah, man, I'm not surprised by this result. I didn't think the Magic, as young as they were going to come out and win this, but I am surprised they haven't shown just a little bit more fight. I know Cerruti is crying into his pillow right now as we talk about this.
Coming into this series, I thought the Magic were kind of live just because when you look at what the Cavs have done since the All-Star break, they just didn't look like the same team. And Donovan looked banged up. I think this team was like 12 and 17 since the All-Star break. They were really struggling. Donovan looked like his knee just wasn't right. But once I saw game 1, it was pretty clear that this was going to be a short and easy series. And, I love Donovan Mitchell. I always laugh at this, but there's only 6 players in the history of the NBA who average more points in the postseason than Donovan Mitchell. I mean, you're talking Michael Jordan, Luka Doncic, Allen Iverson, Kevin Durant, Jerry West, and LeBron James. That's so Donovan Mitchell has proven that he's a great playoff scorer. And then you add guys like Niang and you add guys like Strus. So they can't just collapse on him the way they did last year against the Knicks. It's just, they just have too much for this Magic team. And then the Magic team just can't score. So I expect this to be over in 4 or 5 games max. Maybe the Magic get hot from 3 in 1 game at home and, give Cerruti something to be happy about. But I'm just not seeing it.
Cleveland's going to win this series. And let's be real, boys. We're basically on a collision course in the second round for a Cleveland-Boston second round series. Boston, it's a matter of how many games, not if they're going to beat the Miami Heat without Jimmy Butler, without Terry Rozier. Listen, I'd love to see Miami win this series. I'd love to see Miami make Boston sweat. I just don't see it.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Not happening. I'm well aware of it was.
They're undermanned. I mean, even not having Duncan Robinson is tough.
That's a huge loss. Listen, he lit it up for them last year in the playoffs, especially in that Boston series.
So that's before we even talk about Jimmy Butler, who was a man on fire the entire Eastern Conference playoffs last year. They're bringing a water pistol to a goddamn gunfight, and yeah, they're gonna.
I don't even know if that's a water pistol.
Yeah, exactly.
Yo, this Celtics team has won.
Remember those ninja stars we used to make out of the loose leaf paper? That might be what they're bringing to the fight.
The Celtics were 14-point favorites You know, this Celtics team has won 34 games by 14 points or more this year.
Wow. They've been a wagon. Listen, the only
Dominant
thing they got to
side.
do, fellas, is win a title. That's it. I mean, that's the only thing that's staring them in the face as far as that one last obstacle they got to go and overcome, the Tatum, Brown, Missoula-led Celtics. Waz, do you see a path potentially for Cleveland giving them a series or no chance?
It's tough. I think Cleveland's offense is just so rudimentary and doesn't really present many of the problems. Obviously, they're going to have the size on the wing to throw at Donovan Mitchell and Drew Holiday and Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. Even if they want to give those guys a break, they got Derek White. The back line is stout. I don't think the Cavs are gonna be able to bludgeon them on the boards in order, because like the Knicks, when their inefficiencies are what they are. They're not the greatest half court scoring team, but they do get out in transition and they do pound people on the boards. That's how you bring your efficiency up when you don't have the greatest, offensive execution in the half court. I don't think they're gonna be able to achieve those sorts of ends against the Celtics, man. I think that's a tough series, but stranger things have happened in these NBA playoffs before. The damn Celtics went down 0-3 to Miami last year. Okay, so stranger things have happened, but I don't think Boston presents as a nice matchup for them, man.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only way the Celtics just blow that series is if they just can't make threes. And in today's NBA, 3-point variance is everything. You saw it yesterday with the Mavericks. The Mavericks, they started off the game like 2 for 18 from 3 and 9 for 40 from the field. Like those type of things happen in today's NBA where one team gets hot, the other team just can't make anything. So I think that's the only chance that the Cavs have in this series. The one game in which they won this year against the Boston Celtics, 105-104 back on March 5th. And, March basketball doesn't mean anything. The Cavs made 23s. So that's what it's going to take.
I'm with you, fellas. I think you're looking at a -600, -700, if not more, series prize for Boston. And I'd be stunned if we're not talking about Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. Okay, let's hit these West series. Watch, when I'm sitting down watching New Orleans and Oklahoma City last night, and mind you, I may have a wager on New Orleans plus 2.5 games in the series. So maybe this is my heart talking a little bit, but no, I made the bet, rationally as much as I could with the idea that, hey, veteran team, tough team, Oklahoma City going through the postseason with this group for the first time. Based upon what you saw in game one, does it lead you to believe that we are likely to see a lengthy series with the Pelicans and with the Thunder? Or do you look at that game and say, hey, missed opportunity. Now Oklahoma City is going to play much better and they're going to put them away with these?
Yeah, just a little bit less so now, because that was the game against a very young bunch who's, as you guys could see from watching it, they weren't making the best decisions and the best reads. The moment at times seemed a little bit bigger than the young guys who were, to their credit, they're experiencing this level of postseason intensity for the first time in their career. But I do think so. Long series, could I see this going 6? I could see it going 6, but I think, man, letting that one pass them by last night was tough. But again, to your point, JJ, they have the length on the perimeter to bother SGA. I think we saw SGA as bothered as we've seen him this season on his drives. Like, he didn't have his usual flourish on his drives, guys poking stuff from behind from him. It just wasn't as clean as we're used to seeing this guy who's going to probably finish second in MVP this year. And so obviously they've got the heft in the front court. We saw Chet get, some bully ball against him at times. He's still a little light in the shorts in his first year in the league. They got bludgeoned on the boards. Like, the Pelicans do have advantages, but I just think it's so tough for them to muster offense. CJ he's just not that guy anymore. He can't turn the corner on anybody. He's kind of got to rely on these ultra contested, 2-point shots to as part of his shot diet. And then Ingram, Lou Dort is in his shirt He couldn't do anything with Lou Dort. He tried to isolate against Lou Dort a couple of times, and Lou Dort was just out physical him, and was all up in his airspace, and he just couldn't get off. He had some nice possessions later on where in the pick and roll, he got in the pick and roll, and so that's how he got loose and was able to get downhill, get to his spots a couple of times, make a couple of nice mid-rangers. But I just think that the Thunder talent is more overwhelming here, and they're gonna wear these guys down throughout the course of the series. If the Pelicans still had Zion, I'd be picking them to win this series, though. I'll tell you
I
that
agree
much.
with that. I totally agree with that. 1,000%.
I think the thing that's clear is that the Pelicans core is not Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, and Zion. Their core is Zion, Trey Murphy, and Herb Jones. And like Trey Murphy has just stepped up. And for whatever reason, this Pelicans team is still going to CJ McCollum and still going to Brandon Ingram in the clutch, and they aren't delivering. You saw what they did last night. CJ McCollum, I mean, like you're talking about a guy who was 9 for 22. You talk about Brandon Ingram, 5 for 17 for 12 points, and then had the crucial turnover like on a push off when they were up 2. So it's just like they just don't have enough offensively. Like Waz said, they do have like a ton of advantages on the boards. Last night they rebounded 35% of their misses, so they're going to get more second chance shots. I think they shot 11 more free throws yesterday, so that's big for this team. I think that rebounding advantage and an advantage that Jonas Valanciunas has inside and their ability to defend SGA, that's going to get them at least 1 or 2 games. But ultimately, you're talking about an Oklahoma City Thunder team, which is top 5 in both offensive and defensive rating. They have 2 closers. You have SGA and you have J-Dub, who J-Dub showed up, I mean, amazingly last night. So, they're just too much.
How many games, Raheem?
I'm going to go 5.
I hope you're wrong on that. I want 6. Give me OKC.
I want 6, but I just think that the talent that they have is just so overwhelming.
Okay. All right. So you guys don't see New Orleans making this maybe as lengthy a series as I once thought. Okay. Fair enough. All right. Let's hit Dallas and let's hit the Clippers. Raheem, you know we're invested. We've talked about this a lot on our East Coast Bias show. Dallas struggled with the size of the Clippers. We saw that with Zubac. We saw a situation in which Dallas had as bad a second quarter as you could possibly have. And I have to assume they're going to shoot the ball and they're going to be a much better offensive team in game 2. Now, there's also the elephant in the room of when Kawhi Leonard is going to return and play in this series. So that's something you obviously have to take into account. Where do you stand on the Mavericks? Should they be really sounding the alarm, or do you look at it and say one game, hey, move right past it?
I think there's reasons to sound the alarm. Obviously, Zubac got whatever he wanted. Obviously, Paul George presents that matchup problem. But yesterday was all shot variance. I mean, when you start off the game like 2 for 18 from 3 and 9 for 40, you never give yourself a chance. So I do think the Mavericks are going to probably win game 2 and come back and, have a real chance at winning this series. But it's not what people are going to think it was. Like when you look at this Mavericks team during the second half of the year where they developed all this hype, they weren't really beating top tier teams. Like they were mostly beating teams below 500. If you look at their record against teams above 500, it's not too good. So like, I think there's reasons to sound an alarm, but I think this is going to be a long drawn out series. You're looking at a 7-game series. And I don't know when Kawhi's coming back at this point in time. I'm expecting him to be ruled out for game 2. Like I'm almost expecting him to be ruled out for the series based on what we've seen from him in the past. But I do think this is going to be a close and long series, regardless of whether he plays.
Yeah, on the Kawhi front, I'm pretty sure he's going to come back during this series. Will he finish it? That I'm a lot more dubious of. But he's going to come back. I thought game 1 was a dope display for Ty Lue. In the sense that he has this extra veteran laden squad, and they use this time before the playoffs to develop a game plan of, they showed Luka Doncic about 6 different looks in the pick and roll in the first quarter. Okay. You always talk about how you got to switch up the looks against somebody as cerebral as Luka. And the Clippers did that. I thought they flummoxed these guys in terms of the looks that they had. I like the idea that Gafford's somebody who I've given props for sprucing up the Mavs defensive front since the All-Star break. He got ate up by Zub, man.
Got crushed.
He just got beat up in that regard. I thought some of the stuff where deciding which one of the Mavs shooters to leave alone and help off of, they just nailed those assignments and executions. And man, I think the Mavericks are going to need guys who aren't Kyrie and Luka to step up as plus players on both ends of the floor. Gafford's got to show something on offense. Derrick Jones Jr. has to show something on offense. Tim Hardaway can't be a complete nothing burger on defense. These guys have to step up and be playoff level players and not be negative on any end of the court, right? I think, Exum was tough offensively in game one. I think those guys got to show themselves to be postseason players who aren't taking stuff off the table.
Okay, guys, we have Phoenix and we have Minnesota. I like Phoenix in this series. I'm rooting for Minnesota, though. I'm not going to lie. I love the storyline. I love Anthony Edwards.
Of course.
I like seeing some new blood. I expect this to be a yin-yang type of series. You see this a lot when you have
Do you love the Glenn Taylor take back from A-Rod? A-Rod and them should have said no take backs when they signed that deal to buy the team, because Glenn Taylor's like, boy, we about to go on a run.
Seriously, dude.
Oh my
Seriously.
God.
And I want my team. No, I definitely thought Minnesota would win this in a long series. Look, game one was incredible. I thought some of the shot making on display from Ant, particularly in the third quarter, was incredible. But for me, it's just the solidness, the sturdiness of Minnesota's defense, man. I've been lauding these guys all year. One of the most elite units in the NBA is the Minnesota defense. And they showed it against the Phoenix Suns yesterday. KD, Devin Booker.
Booker was terrible.
Yeah.
He was awful.
It was tough. And he was trying to do the old rules, the contact, fall to the floor, all of this stuff. Rob Mahoney pointed out, like, he would fall to the floor, be 4 and 5, going the other way. This Minnesota defense is stout. And I don't get tired of saying this. Rudy Gobert is going to win Defensive Player of the Year, and he deserves it. This team was the #1 defense in the NBA with a bullet. And the difference between this and Utah is he's got some absolute stallions behind thoroughbreds on defense. Okay, when you talk about Jaden McDaniels and, obviously Anthony Edwards, these guys can ratchet it up to a whole other level. Let's take this calm down, though. It is the Timberwolves. They still employ Karl Towns, and, Ant Edwards is still a young guy. They're going to make boneheaded plays, boneheaded decisions. This isn't going to be some sweep or anything crazy like that, but you got to like their chances just because they're going to bring – this defense is not a myth. It's going to travel. They're going to make the Suns' life tough all series because let's face it, their offense is going to continue to be stagnant. It's going to be on KD, Booker, Bradley Beal to just out-talent people. They don't run great stuff. KD teams traditionally don't run intricate offenses. It's all about just beating the man in front of you. And they got the horses to win that way. But, boy, it's going to be tough. Minnesota's going to make it tough for them.
Yeah, Minnesota's going to make it really tough. I mean, like even beyond just, the Timberwolves defense, they're always going to have an advantage on the boards. And you saw that big in game one. I mean, they outscored them in second chance points. They rebounded most of their misses. So, like, the one thing about playoff basketball is we know it slows down. If you could generate second and third opportunities to score, it just puts you in a great position. So, like, I think they're going to have that advantage going forward. I also think Finch is the better coach. And I think you saw, I think the Suns tried to go small at the end of the second quarter, and that's when the game kind of really got away from them. So, like, I like the Wolves' chances going forward, but I do think this is probably going to be a longer series.
Boys, I got two things that we have to sign off on. I love a good old-fashioned guarantee. Waz, remember the good old-fashioned Patrick Ewing guarantees? We lived through way too many of those in our lifetime.
That's right.
Well, Raheem, you, my friend, have a big fella who has just made himself a guarantee. The Philadelphia 76ers cannot help themselves because they just love chirping. They love running their mouths. I want to make sure I have this exact, gentlemen. I want to make sure I have it exact. Joel Embiid, we are going to win this series. Raheem, your thoughts?
Look, he's won an MVP. At the end of the day, it all comes down to what he does. And we haven't had too many good things come for our Philadelphia 76ers in a long time. We can't get out the second round. I want my MVP stepping up like this. I want that. So I want the smoke. I want Joel Embiid to want the smoke. So we'll take it.
Waz, I think this has Ewing guarantee written all over it.
Look, here's what I say. I love that it's Joel guaranteeing this because if they do anything, it's going to be because his fingerprints are all over it and not like a B-ball Paul guaranteeing it, right? Who doesn't have any effect on the game. So I love this. I'm loving this series. I love the slobber knocker nature to this, man. This feels throwback. This feels vintage. This is way better. People can piss and moan about the change of the rules on the fly. I'm sorry. This is way better than 140 points.
Amen.
Each way.
I'm with you. Amen, my brother.
Halves.
Amen.
This is way freaking better. So I'm loving it. I look forward to this being a long series, man. I look forward to Joel coming back to the Garden. I look forward to this. This is the Garden atmosphere, by the way. Again, we don't say it enough. Incredible.
It's best home court in sports.
It's
in the
just
NBA,
an
it's not even
incredible
close.
TV product, dude. To watch a close Knicks game in the playoffs at the Garden, just incredible. This is just fun. And Philly's going to be rocking, too. Don't get it twisted.
It is.
Hopefully they don't boo the team in the first half if they're not.
Going to be a lot. I'll tell you this, though, boys. I won't be down there on Thursday or Sunday. There will be a lot of Knicks fans who find their way down I-95 in that building.
Good.
You know that, Raheem.
Hopefully
there will be a lot of Knicks fans in that building.
You know, Philly people
hope they make it home alive.
Well, that's another thing. I'm not brave enough to do that. And guys, I want to leave you with a parting thought from Kendrick Perkins.
Yeah.
Another thing before I move on, all those soft-ass players that said they wouldn't want to play for Tibbs. Well, guess what? Tibbs don't want to coach y'all cupcake asses either. Carry on.
Oh, man.
I love it. Yes.
Oh, man.
Thank you, Kendrick.
That's great. That's
Boys,
fantastic.
I might have blew out your eardrums on that. I apologize.
No, I love
I'm
that.
way too excited.
No, I
it
love
was
it.
great seeing you guys. This was too much fun. Raheem, next time I see you, I hope you're in better mood and better spirits.
By the way, everybody who's on this stream right now, please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the damn Ringer NBA page, please.
I will do it as soon as I'm done. I promise. Watch. Tell everybody what they got to do.
They got to hit the like. Make sure you subscribe to the Ringer NBA. It don't cost you nothing. Just subscribe, folks. We're putting out all kinds of fantastic content on there for you guys, man. So make sure you guys subscribe.
And listen, we all got our things going. Waz got, what do you got? Real ones, Waz? I can't even keep up with how many shows you got.
The whole Ringer NBA feed, of course, real ones with Raj and Logan, and of course, the great Howard Beck, and then, of course, group chat with myself, Justin Verry, and Rob Mahoney. The whole Ringer is lit this whole postseason. Come on now. New York, forget about it. Like, we're all over this thing.
You know it. And Raheem, of course, will be rocking our Philly special, and then we'll get together on Thursday morning, Wednesday night for East Coast Bias, and we'll have hopefully a nice juicy price on the Knicks in Game 3, getting a whole lot of points against the Sixers. All right, boys, ton of fun. Want to thank all the folks over at the YouTube Ringer stream for making this happen. Jack and crew, fabulous job. Stefan, my boy, as always, love you. The absolute best. Rudy, hang in there on the magic. For Waz, Raheem, JJ signing off. This was fun.
No doubt.
Boys are out. Be good, everybody.